Ooh, 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 ooh. You're out of touch, I'm out of time. Or is it the other way around? Touch and time, man. Those are my two love languages. That's silly. They're all my love. All the languages of love are my languages. Today, the theme of this video is awakenings. What is an awakening? It is a profound moment of, I don't know, you wake up, your eyes are opened to a whole slew of new truths, almost in an instant, right? It's something very different from just like a realization or an epiphany. It's sort of like a revelation, because a revelation's pretty crazy. When the truth of reality is revealed and it goes against pretty much everything you've thought or believed in, and then you have to alter yourself to that as opposed to trying to make that altered to you. You know what I mean? A fool sees truth and tries to alter it to his, but the wise see truth and alter themselves to it. I just butchered that, but that's what it is. Anyway, an awakening shifts everything. It's so life-changing and course-correcting and deeply profound that you cannot go back to the ways you thought before. You can try, because that is an instinct. It's like, no, I don't want to know this truth because it makes everything much more difficult, or it adds a layer of difficulty, really. I always say truth is like a freaking sledgehammer. You know, it'll come in and it will sledge. And I know that there's the whole red pill community and everyone acts like, oh, you just take a pill once and then it's like, boom, you know it all. But an awakening kind of happens suddenly. But then it's a very slow and personalized and painful process of shedding the lies, shedding the ways you've been delusional, shedding falsities from your thinking and beliefs. And it can be very, very challenging. Like this, or comment on this if you understand what I'm talking about. I have had two major ones that completely messed me up. But I'm happy that they happened because it put me on better tracks. And, you know, the truth will set you free. So I love, and I have like such a voracious appetite for truth. So I guess you could put me in that category of truth seeker. Yeah, I'm one of those. Because I don't want to build my life on lies. Currently, I am reading a spectacular book, and God bless you, Mary Harrington, for writing this. She's a juggernaut, really, intellectually. And then she brings the care and the compassion, and she says things that are, I mean, she's thought things through. So it's Feminism Against Progress. And maybe in my next video, I want to talk about like feminism and witchcraft, how mainstream it's gone, and new age bull crap that we all get kind of sucked into. But here, this is something that really hit me, because it's like, oh, this happens, these awakenings, she refers to them as a macro and a micro crash, which is very similar. So I'm just going to read you this little, because this is pretty similar to what happened with me, and I think it's what happens for many people when they have said awakening. In that course of the simultaneous macro and micro crash, I lost my social circle, my career, most of my convictions, and the majority of my identity. I'll spare you the recovery story, except to say it took years to reassemble something like a workable worldview from the smoking ruins of my queer theory-inflected, double liberal, anti-hierarchical idealism. Anti-hierarchical idealism. So that hit, because that's very much what I've gone through in the last couple years, where you know, when I moved to Austin in 2019, it's been the strangest years ever, because exactly that. The majority of my identity had to get questioned. I kind of lost my beliefs and my faith. I was kind of flailing and floundering through time. And then everybody else seemed to kind of be just doing things the way everybody always does them. And that was really a weird thing to balance. Kind of feels like you're straddling, right? Like straddling two different worlds all the time. All right. My two awakenings didn't happen simultaneously. One happened in April of 2020, and then the other one took a couple years behind and happened in early June of 2022, right? One was, I like how she put it macro and micro, because one was a little bit macro because it involved knowing what really is going on in the world, because I was way off. The things I was supporting and advocating for, I was like, oh no. In that awakening, I saw how powerful media is, how powerful the entertainment industry, what we listen to on podcasts, what we read, like the power of media information and news and narratives, and how that gets twisted. And I saw how powerful and what was really going on with that. So basically anything mainstream to me is just pure propaganda at this point. And you know, then I would get into some tiffs with people and they'd be like, oh, so I just can't read anything from the news or from the media, you know, the New York Times or the New York or any of these things. And I'm like, no, you go to civic journalists. You go to people who don't make salaries based off of what they get told to write from the top down. You go to people who care about the truth and who want to preserve liberty and freedom. And they usually don't get paid that well. I think that's changed in the last couple years because of things like, you know, a Substack. It made it a lot easier for people to be able to support themselves while putting truthful information out there, which is great. And then the second awakening I had was way more personal and spiritual. It's when I came back to Christ. I've kind of spoken about it a little bit in my past videos, but that one really challenged my identity. Really. I was like reeling afterwards. I thank God it happened, but that was crazy to sort through and to sift through and to like let certain things go. And you know, because when you're going the wrong way, the first thing to do is to turn around, right? Well, I guess the first thing is to realize you're going the wrong way, right? To wake up to the fact that you are lost and you're going down the wrong road. And there's even an argument about truth because, and comment on this if you agree or disagree. But truth seems to be something that you do not create for yourself in your mind. It's something you discover, right? We live in a culture where a lot of people make up truth based off of how they feel and what they think. And then they go, my truth. And it's like, well, that could change in 10 minutes. You can't really build long-lasting things on your own subjective truth. It has to be an objective truth that we all align to so we can build great things. No, that just makes sense to me. You live in a world where everybody's just following their own truth, and that's scary. It's why all our cities are turning into Gotham. I mean, one of the many reasons. We have a culture that's breeding moral relativists. Because evil and wickedness has its own logic. And it can always try to justify itself. And that was kind of the thing that happened in the second awakening that I said was more spiritual. It was like the reality of wickedness was just clear. And I would like leave and go out into the world and I was like, whoa, that's wicked behavior. Or that's like wicked. I'd never seen it that way. And everyone's like, oh, well, that's judgment. It's like, well, You have to discern things. You have to discern good from bad. The real world is freaking wild, man. And when you start seeing those spiritual and material things interpenetrating each other, and then you kind of have to like start standing up for certain things, that's where it gets a little tricky. The courage to stand is the courage to be crucified. That's something I am thinking about a lot. Anyway, so my next video is going to be on feminism and the whole sexual revolution and how what that has created ultimately. And I'm super qualified to talk on it because I was sipping on all those Kool-Aids for my entire 20s, and they got me into a lot of just not in the trench, in a pit of vipers, pretty much, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. So, you know, I think people need to realize that the way they conduct themselves sexually has consequences. And in your past will always come back around. You kind of see that a little bit, and I'm not saying that she deserves it, and it's a little brutal what's going on. It's a form of warfare, but you see that with Dylan Dennis and that supermodel that he's just kind of, you know, just airing out her entire past of how she's conducted herself, and it's crazy. I think women need to think harder about it. Those are just brief thoughts on awakenings, you know, because we are in the Great Awakening. Like, people are waking up all over the place in like mass amounts. And I am absolutely blown away when I get into a conversation with someone and it's as if their beliefs and thoughts have not changed in 5 years. And I'm like, I don't know how you could have experienced being a human on this planet with everything they pulled with the COVID and not had drastic changes to what you think is going on. Or had it alter your worldview in big ways. Like, people that are just like, yeah, and they live the same way as before that happened, and they just kind of follow along with what they think. It's like, what? How does that even happen? My world has gotten flipped right side up in ways that it's taken years for me to kind of like get my groundings, get my bearings. So yeah, if you see this and you've had an awakening, I would love to hear about it. And like this, if you understand, or if you've, you know, or if you're awakened. Because this is ultimately, not on the internet, but in real life, these are my favorite things to talk about. So, okay, bye.